Alright, this video is going to show you how to configure the IPs on your equipment for this week's lab. You'll probably be working in groups of 4, so you need to figure out which particular piece of equipment you'll be configuring and apply the appropriate IPs to that. For that piece of equipment, I give you all of the IP addresses to use on the lab sheet. Basically that's what we need to do. I'm only going to configure one side because basically it's going to be the same on the other side. You just need to use the other IP addresses. So I'm going to be configuring the table 2 side. We have some fast Ethernet interfaces, a gigabit interface in there, and we're going to be using a serial interface. In the lab, we're going to use serial 020, which is a T1 connection. We don't have that available in the simulator. For the simulator, we'll use serial 010. So if you're working in the simulator for any reason, just make note, we're going to be using serial 010 for this bottom router connection. So basically, I'm going to start at the top router and do the config. It's nothing new that we haven't done before, so you guys should be capable of accomplishing this pretty easy. Type enable first. I do that every time, it seems like. Alright, so now we want to configure the interfaces. Int FA00, no shutdown, don't forget that. Give it an IP address. 192.168.21.2 with a 30-bit mask. We use a 30-bit mask because we only need 2 IP addresses on a point-to-point link, and that doesn't have us wasting a bunch of IP addresses unnecessarily if we were to use a larger mask. FA01, no shutdown, give it an IP address. It's also going to have a 30-bit mask, and the IP is going to be 22.253. Then we're going to do gig 030, no shutdown. Give it an IP address of 1.2, the 28-bit mask, which is 240, I believe, right? 240. That's what we're going with. That's not right, and then I screwed that up. So that's the top router. We'll go do the bottom router. Similar process. We're creating sub-interfaces on the bottom router because we're doing inter VLAN routing, just because it's good to get extra practice. So we'll go into the physical interface and do no shutdown. We'll create a sub-interface 0.0/0.22. We'll do the encapsulation command to tell it what VLAN it's working for, and this will be for VLAN 22. And then we're going to give an IP address 22.1 with a 27-bit subnet mask, which will be 224. We don't need to do no shutdown because we already did no shutdown on the physical. Create the 0.23 subinterface, give it an IP address. I tell you to use 22.33. Hopefully you're like, hey Rich, you forgot the encapsulation. Yeah, I did that on purpose to show you if you forget the encapsulation, it's going to tell you this. So either remember to do the encapsulation, or when it tells you that error, remember, oh hey, yeah, that means I forgot the encapsulation. So that was the 00 interface and sub interfaces. Now we want to configure 0/1. No shutdown. Give it an IP address of 22.254. I don't know why I deleted all that. 252, we're going to give it a 32-bit mask again. 30-bit net mask again. 32-bit mask, it'll be funny. Alright, did I do no shutdown on that guy? Yeah, I did. And now we're going to do serial 010. Remember, if you're not in the lab, we're going to do serial 010. If you're in the lab, we're going to be actually using serial 020. No shutdown, and give it an IP address. IP address 192.168.12.2. 30-bit mask, so that does that. So once you're done configuring your router, I should have done this on the top router, but I didn't. Show IP int brief will show you your interfaces, and we want to make sure they're all up and up. And if they're not up and up, we want to be able to explain why they're not up and up. So on this guy, we have FA022 is up and up, 0/0.23 is up and up, 0/1 is up and up. Serial 010 is showing it's down. And that makes sense because the serial interface is not going to come up until we configure this other router. So we're okay with that for now. So let's bring this back up. Let's go check out this router. Make sure he's all up and up. Do show IP int brief. Up and up, up and up, up and up. So now we need to configure our switch. So the router's connected to port 1. So we need to configure interface 1, interface FA01 for trunking. We need to configure 02 for VLAN 22. And we need to configure interface 3 for VLAN 23. Why do we need to configure PC interface 2 for VLAN 22 and interface 3 for VLAN 23? Well, because I'm going to make this my VLAN 22 PC and this my VLAN 23 PC, so I needed to configure the switch ports to match what I was going to make it. So now we want to set the IP address. I tell you what to use for the host, 22.2, but then I say, hey, gateway, there's a blank on there. Why is there a blank on the gateway? The subnet mask for a 27 is 224. You should know that by now. There's a blank on there because at this point, I expect that you should be smart enough to know that the gateway on the PC should be the IP address in that subnet. So we need 22.1 because that's the sub-interface we created for VLAN 22. And the packet tracer didn't like that. I didn't finish typing before I got out of there. So that's that one. We'll configure this guy. Desktop. This guy's going to be 22.34. 224. And same thing. What's the gateway? Oh, I don't know, Rich. You put a blank. Well, this is VLAN 23. The sub-interface for VLAN 23 on the router is 22.33, so 22.33. So that is the basic IP configuration on one side of the network. I'm not going to record be doing the other side because it's basically the same thing with different IP addresses, so you should be smart enough to pull that off by now. But we're going to verify that this all works by pinging between the PCs on either side. If you're using the simulator, the first ping always fails, so don't freak out until you get multiple failures. So there we go. So I could ping from this PC to that PC, so it's going to the switch, up to the router sending it back down to the switch, back to the PC. So that is that's the configuration we're going to need on one side of the network for IPs. We're going to go ahead and do one other configuration. We're going to go ahead and configure the switch ports for port fast because we want them to be fast. So we're going to go to the switch on the routers are connected to, and we're just going to configure it globally. So globally, you can configure it spanning tree port fast, and then see what the rest of the command is default. So now we have all of our ports set for port fast, and if you remember, port fast is a thing. This is my switch. I have to configure it on my switch in the class, but I will. Spanning tree, port fast, default. If you remember, port fast is the thing that made it so that our interfaces came up more quickly. So instead of it taking 45 seconds for it to come up, it would come up more quickly. And that's something that's important for routers because you don't want your router to be up, but then be waiting for a while to actually be able to work. Because your router thinks it's up, but it can't really communicate because the switch is blocking the frames, and that can cause problems in a lot of different configurations. So I believe that was all we needed to do for the basic IP connectivity on one half of the network. Like I said, the other half is going to be the same config with different IP addresses as listed on the lab sheet, so you should be able to pull that off without needing me.